your president this year. Thank you. First, start off, if you guys were able to make the installation banquet, thank you so much. It was a great time. I was told not to touch this, but here we are. It was a great time. And thank you guys for coming. And thank you, Stephen Hammers, and give him a round for his year. Our invocation today is led by Roger Greenup and our pledge and four-way test by Jim Villers. Roger.
Good afternoon. Let us pray. Father, what a beautiful day you have made for us here in Brentwood, Tennessee. We're so thankful for all of your blessings, just grace and mercy that's new for each and every one of us every day. We thank you for this new Rotary year that we're about to embark upon. And so we just pray your blessings upon our leaders, each member of this club. We thank you for the opportunity to serve and to help others. And we also ask your blessings upon our country, our leaders. Be with us, help us to be more like you in all that we do. In Christ's name, we ask it. Amen.
Join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do first, second, third, fourth, fifth.
All right. And we have a lot of guests here in the room. We want to thank you for coming. And Claudia.
I think I've lost control, Jennifer. But we do have a lot of guests in the room, so I want to go ahead and get going. And I want to start with Larry. Would you like to introduce your guest? Where'd you go? There you are.
More people in the room know Linda than I do, probably. Linda Hirsch, we met in Leadership Brentwood in 1991. And we've been close friends ever since. She's been on every board, every committee in the city multiple times. And so I'm sure a lot of you, she just wanted to come today and be our guest and hear our speakers. So Linda Hirsch.
This is Jay Strabino. He works for the Office of Marsha Blackburn, in charge of special projects and security. We should all feel very safe. I'm very glad you're here, sir.
And Jennifer, I believe you're introducing a few people.
I know April right here. This is April Kaiser. We served on the Women in Business for the Williamson Chamber together. And so we got to meet, and we have some personal ties that we did not know about. And she's from Tampa, or she moved here from Tampa, which I am from Tampa. So she works for the Girl Scouts of America here. Yeah. And this is April, so please welcome her. And Lynn, everybody knows Lynn. So every time I introduce her, I feel awkward because we all know Lynn. But this is Lynn Tucker. She works at the chamber, and she is the head of the Leadership Brentwood program. So she wanted to come off and meet.
Let's see. Tom is right here.
This is my friend Gil Hutchison. He is very involved in the green space projects, has done that for years for Brentwood. But the best thing about this man that stands before you today is he attended the Florida State University. And he wants to join, so that means you'll have two of us to contend with now, which I'm looking forward to. And by the way, there are two Linda Hirsches in Brentwood. I accidentally or embarrassingly called the other one once and said very inappropriate things to her. So anyway, thank you.
My guest needs no introduction. It's one of our new city commissioners. And so thank you. Welcome Kim again. Maybe one day she'll decide to join, but if not, she's always welcome here.
All right. And Susie, where'd you go? I don't know how I can miss you in that dress. I love this.
I'm going quiet and subtle today. So I get to introduce to you Nelson Andrews. I know all of you know Nelson. Nelson is our mayor of the city of Brentwood. He's also head of Andrews Transportation Group, and we are glad to have him here. Oh, he's also Rotarian in the Brentwood Morning Club. Thank you, Nelson. And Curry's son, but that was a given.
Patrick? Oh, there you go. Oh, happy bucks. You got it. Okay. We have two more guests. Where are we?
Stand up, please. Hey, I'm proud to have Randy Lee with me today. Randy's a wealth management investment advisor at Cap Trust. He and I serve on the Leadership Brentwood alumni board together. So we're in Lynn's timeout corner. We just decided to sit over here since we knew we'd end up over there anyway. But many of you know Randy, great guy, and wanted to be here today for our speaker, and happy to have him as my guest. Please make him welcome.
And I'm happy to have Kate Jurwitz here as my guest. She'll talk to you a little bit more in a bit, but I'm glad that she's here.
You kind of want it.
We do have someone who just moved to town. And Michael, where are you? Oh, there you are. Very good. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a forensic accountant from Los Angeles, California. Just moved the area about a month ago and looking for Rotary clubs to get involved with. I was a member of LA5 Rotary for over 20 years.
All right, that'll do it. Welcome, everyone.
Okay. All right. I do not know how to fix this, so we're just gonna have to piddle around there. Maybe Jason, I'm sorry if that. Okay, couple announcements. First thing is last week, if you're at the banquet, I mentioned one of my number one goals this year is to unite us. So first thing I want to do is invite you guys to come to my home on August 9th. So the first social of the year is going to be at my house. So if you like me, come hang out with me on August 9th. Next, we're doing an ice cream social. Claudia, who you just met, she works at Morning Point over on Wilson Pike. And we are doing ice cream social for the guests, for the people who live at Morning Point. And we've done it, this is our third year, I believe, doing it. And it's a wonderful time. So it's going to be August 15th, after our regular club meeting. So we end at 1 and we go right over there and we get set up and we do that about 2 o'clock. And then as always, we're going to start promoting the golf tournament. It is on September 8th, our 9th annual golf tournament. So we will obviously want volunteers. Susie will likely be spearheading that again. So please put that date, and then please also go get your sponsors, right? And just ask. That's all you gotta do. Yes, of course.
Sorry about the people online. Bless you. You feel better? For 8 years, we have done better every year with our income from our golf tournament. Please don't let that end in our 9th year. Okay? That's all I want to say. Thank you.
All right. And then
That means sell sponsorship.
all right. And then the last thing I want to make sure you guys save the date and get on your calendar is our first responders picnic. I know it's 2 months away, but one of my pain points when I first joined is I didn't know anything. So I want to make sure you guys have the date, September 11th. That is the day that we honor our first responders here in our city at Granny White Park. So, all right, next, Michael Kaplan's going to come up and he's going to tell us about some stuff with membership.
I'm a little taller. So I'm the new director of membership. I wouldn't, ouch. So our new membership initiative is going to be when you bring a prospective member in, their lunch is going to be paid for. So you don't have to worry about paying the $15. Please do not try to use this to bring your spouse or someone that has no interest in joining to get a free lunch, because I'm going to follow up with them and make sure that they're interested. And no, they don't have to join, but we want to bring people in and we want to make it easier for you guys to bring people in that could be interested in joining. So please, we're going to make a few little changes. We're going to make it easier to get information on joining. But so yes, if you have anybody you're interested bring them to me, come in here, and we'll give them first lunch free. We're not going to keep buying it over and over, but your first one will be free.
So if you guys know somebody who wants to serve and you think would be a great Rotarian, bring them to lunch with us. Linus?
So I briefly introduced Kate Jurwitz a little bit earlier. Kate is interested in doing a short-term Rotary exchange, and we'll talk about that more, her and I, after the meeting. But she had a very positive experience at RILA that she wanted to share with you today. So Kate, here you go.
I'll stand up here. Hello, as you know, I'm Kate Jurwitz. I'm going to be a senior at Ravenwood High School this year. Earlier this summer, I attended RILA, and it was one of the best things that I have ever experienced. I can say that with my full heart. Thank you so much for sponsoring this opportunity for me. I was able to make friends with people from all across Middle and West Tennessee while I was learning more about myself and how to become a better leader. Some of my favorite activities included the ropes course at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, listening to keynote speakers talk about their experiences as leaders, and doing team building exercises with my group members. I talked about this with my friends too, and it would be something that I would recommend to anybody that is interested in becoming a better leader around my age. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. If you are a guest and are not familiar with RILA, it's our Rotary Youth Leadership Academy that we host every summer, and our club sponsors 5 young people in our community from the high schools to go. So Kate was one of ours this year. All right, next is Susie.
Right. So for those of you who have been living under a rock for a while, we recently finished our 50th anniversary project, which was an awesome redo of the patio, the grilling patio at Granny White Park. So it is up, it is running. And we just wanted to thank everybody. We had a big ribbon cutting in April 25th. And we had plaques to designate that. And we just wanted to honor everyone who helped out. So first off, Vice Mayor Ray Little, he was at our ribbon cutting ceremony. Thank you. Mayor Nelson Andrews, he was at our ribbon cutting. Right. Keeley Hall was the chairman of our 50th anniversary celebration. What are we going to do? How are we going to honor our club's 50th birthday? And so we have a plaque for Keeley. And we had a really great vision for this project. Jim Villers and I started talking about this and what can we do and how can we make this happen? And so we approached the city, we did all these things, and finally the city went, well, we need some kind of plans other than like stuff you've sketched out on a piece of paper. So Michael Hyman came through and he created some plans for us. So we actually had something to show the city to get approved. So Michael, thank you. Anyway. That's what Rotary is about, doing things to the community, serving and giving back. So I just thank everybody who believed in this project. I'm glad to have that behind us now. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next, we have Happy Bucks, our fearless, because now he is a past president, Stephen Hammers.
Hey,
Best meeting ever for him, right?
Yes, before I start Happy Bucks, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to be president. I got pushed out, kicking and screaming because I loved it so much, but I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And I want to do the first Happy Bucks. I just had a grandbaby, right there. Show him the other picture. That's my new grandson, July 1st. Where is it? I had a son when I was 10 years old, and then he had a son. There you go. Tatum. Tatum is his name. Tatum. All right, who's happy? Anybody? All right, Bert.
Not to be outdone, I have $7 representing £1 each of my new grandson, born yesterday, James Fuller.
That's awesome.
I am so happy that this club supports RILA And I think this young lady who just got up and spoke is a fine example of how this program works. Let's keep it going, folks. Thank you.
I forgot one thing. Tom, your friend, you might want him to wait till after August 29th to join.
Healy.
All right. The fact that they gave me and Susie and Jim don't have something of this sort is just ridiculous. We need like a giant sized one. Susie and Jim did so much for that project, and neither one of them would make that known publicly, but I will make that known publicly. They ran the entire show, did the whole thing. It would not have come together without either one of them. So thank you guys.
Awesome. Now, we had a few others got plaques on the installation night.
Just happy to be here in Tennessee with new friends.
Awesome. All right. Who's happy? Who else is happy? Else?
So very happy to have Jason Gage here, new city manager. Also very happy that we've appointed Stephen Pippin to the city commission. So if you know Stephen, and happiest of all, that Curry Andrews is going to be a great grandfather come December. So my son Alec and his wife are expecting our first.
That's awesome. Anybody else? I know we got a lot of happy people in here. Come on. Nobody's happy? All right. No grandbabies? No other grandbabies? Okay.
Something in the water. All right. Now we're going to get to our program. Ray Little is going to come and introduce our new city manager, Jason.
Jason Gage is a Southwest Missouri native, has a bachelor's degree in political science and a Master of Public Administration degree from the University of Missouri. Jason's wife, Lasonda, lives here with him, but he has 6 children. And I think my understanding is they're all at the adult category or in college, and they're all in different parts of the nation. So Jason has over 30 years experience in city manager, being a city manager, assistant city manager. And after a long and a very good process, we did bring him into the city. And I, as one who've been a commissioner for 16 years, have been very pleased and think Jason will be a great asset to the city of Brentwood. I understand through rumors I heard, though, that inquiring minds are wanting to know, since there are 3 city commissioners here present today, who is his favorite commissioner so far? So I understand he might answer that question during the question and answer session. No, but yes, Jason and I have not known each other a long time. And so I don't have any great stories to tell about, oh, do you remember this? But I will say our experience, he's come in, he's hit the ground running. He's done a great job so far. I think we have a wonderful commission up there right now. And I think the city of Brentwood is going to continue to soar and fly high. Welcome, Jason Gage.
Thank you, everyone. I do have to say this is an impressive microphone. So it goes without saying, I guess, but appreciate being here. I am been in Rotary myself for over 20 years in 3 different communities, and started my first job in Missouri, and kind of went through the ranks and was the president of that club. And so I have a huge appreciation for what Rotary is all about and what you do. So I just want you to know that. And I was told I have about 1 hour and 15 minutes. So, no, that's not right. Okay. So I'm gonna start. I've got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm gonna start pretty early. So I was born in Lamar, Missouri. So there you go. Now that may not mean much to you, but there was someone famous born in Lamar, Missouri. And does anyone know who it is? Yeah, yeah. Who is? Yeah, that's great. I thought I'd have to give more clues. Awesome. Way to go, Tom. But yeah, Harry S. Truman. Now, if you go there, he has there's a nice historical kind of place to visit. And they don't have anything for me yet, but I guess you keep working on it. But tell you a little bit about myself, family and hobbies. Married my wife, Lasonda. We are here. We both really love Brentwood and this whole area. And our kids are sort of spread out. 6 kids. We're a blended family. I brought in 4. She has 2. I remember in my younger days, I thought that you just kept changing diapers forever for your whole life. That's what I thought. But just appreciate our family so much. I like, Ray knows this, I like cars, older cars, sports. I'm a big basketball fan, played basketball and baseball in high school. Like football, didn't get to play it. We were pretty small. Growing up in Southwest Missouri in a little small town. Jet skis, we like being out on the lake. Now, I'm kind of cheap, which I think my commissioners are going to appreciate at some point. But so my sports cars are older. One's an 86, one's a 90, fairly old. And my jet skis are kind of old because I didn't know if I was going to do it a lot, right? So those are great hobbies. And I'm not talking about driving and riding. I'm talking about working on them. So that's just the way it is. I was, as Ray mentioned, I went to school at Missouri Southern State University now. It's in Joplin, Missouri. It was pretty close to where I grew up. Not sure what I wanted to be. I like science. I like to know how things worked. And then eventually, I kind of got pushed away from that when I took this math class from a guy who looked like the combination of a janitor and Albert Einstein. And he even learned to write with his left hand so he wouldn't be in the way of the board. I thought that was impressive. But I then started taking a political science class or two. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. And at that point, I got into the pre-law track. So I was going to be an attorney. How many attorneys are in here? Yeah, always know your audience, right? Yeah. Anyway, that's where I was headed, and I needed an elective, and my schedule was full. And a buddy of mine said, "Hey, there's this public administration class, and it's in the evening." Well, the evening part didn't set well with me, but it fit my schedule. So I thought, okay, I need the class. I'm going to take it. It was taught by a city administrator, which is a lot like a city manager in a nearby town. And that's where I guess I drank the Kool-Aid. He told the class and convinced me that you can have more impact, positive impact on people's lives at the local government level than just about anything you can do. And that really resonated with me. And so my first question, which is a question I get from others, is, well, what do you have to do to be a city manager? I mean, that's a lot of responsibility. As a matter of fact, when we talk about our budget, right, about $120 million, somewhere in there, I always tell people that when I was in college, if I would have been told I'd be responsible for that budget and 300 and some employees, that would have been a really bad idea. So when I asked him, I said, what do you have to do? He says, well, go get your master's degree. Doesn't matter what your undergraduate degree is, really. Get your master's in public administration. That's the best thing to do. So I went to Mizzou and got my master's degree. Now, some of you might know, maybe, that in the area at least, and some would say in the region, depends who you talk to, Jay would know this, KU, Kansas University, has one of the prominent programs. Now, I guess I didn't study hard enough or something. I didn't get into that program. I applied, so I got into the Mizzou. And of course, there's a border rivalry that I wish was still there. So anytime that I'm hired and there was someone from KU that applied, I feel a little bit better about it. So it's just so you know. Anyway, I mentioned sports. Of course, I'm a Chiefs fan, as you might expect. And I will say it is pretty easy to be a Chiefs fan right now. It really is. I have to admit that. But I was a fan when they weren't doing so well. When I was younger, I was a Dallas Cowboys fan. And then Jerry Jones bought the team and he kicked out Tom Landry. And I was a kid and I don't carry grudges. I truly don't. I didn't like that. And I thought, I'm not going to root for the Dallas Cowboys until Jerry Jones sells the team. And I don't know, I may die before Jerry Jones does. But so I'm a Chiefs fan, Royals fan, and Cardinals. I like both. Now, if by chance they would be in a World Series again, which doesn't look too likely this year, I would lean on the Royals side, but barely. But I'm a fan of both. I just want to say we love being here. And I get a question sometimes. There's an assumption what we make in this business of city management that everyone knows what a city manager is and does. And that's not always the case. So I'll kind of give you just a quick primer. The easiest analogy to compare is to think of what you do, private sector business being a CEO, particularly when there's a board of directors. So my role as the chief administrative officer is really like the CEO of the private company. The city commission are my board of directors, right? And the mayor's my chairman. And I will tell you, not just coincidentally because we have three here, we do have a terrific city commission. And I know you already know that, but I will tell you that. So my job is in essence to manage over all the administrative functions, supervise the department heads. I carry out the codes and initiatives of the city commission. And with Jay's help, obviously, and our staff, Jay's a big part of that, by the way, and our staff, our job then is provide good information. And I always tell people, when you think about city management and what it is, you have to take politics out, and particularly partisan politics. And so if I'm in the middle, if I lean right or if I lean left, I'm not good for them. I don't need to be there. I need to stay in the middle that way because it's not about my personal or political opinions. It's about my ability to give them objective information, suggest processes that are objective, and then to carry out what they do and to be that to assist them in however they need as a group. And I do tell people, governing body singular, right? That's a group, even though, and it's really hard. And I think these guys know because they've been doing this a while, and Kim's new to it, but you're elected as an individual, but you have to work together as a group, as a single unit. So you don't want to trip on your own foot, right? And that can be difficult in the world of politics and in governance. And that's why I'm very appreciative with the governing body we have right now, because it's not always the easiest thing to do. But that's what's really important, and that's what allows you to go forward. So when you think about city management, and you think, well, why is there such thing as city management? The real reason goes back to the early 1900s. It really goes back to the 1800s, but it changed in the early 1900s. And there was a time, especially in larger cities, you had big boss political machines, partisan politics, and not just that in itself, but what I tell when I'm talking to some of our new employees, especially when I was in Springfield and we had our new employees and we talked about these things, I said, here's the thing. I said, how would you feel if you had a contracting company? Maybe you do road work, drainage work, something like that, but you weren't chosen because of your competency, because of your bid, because of any of those things. You were the person who was chosen, may not be that good, may overcharge, but they were chosen because they were a campaign donor to a politician, right? How would you feel? How would you feel if you were hired based on some of those, or someone else was hired in lieu of you based on some of those same factors? You wouldn't feel too great about it. The point is, there was a lot of that going on in that time, and especially in larger cities. And so each state has to enable the form. And there was a push around the country that says we need that professional form. We need to get partisan politics out, right? Life is full of politics, but the partisan politics out, have someone who's a professional. And what that did as well is in many of those city commission forms in the old days, to be a commissioner, you had to have a specialty knowledge in a particular profession. And so it eliminated that. Anyone could run, right? And then you rely on your manager to help you along the way. You need to be a good decision maker, a good person and a good decision maker. And if you can do that, you can do the job really well. And it opened the doors for that. And so each state enables cities to, through local governance, through votes, to choose their form, typically. And so you've seen that form of government really kind of spread across the country from that time. And they say some of the most efficient cities have council manager forms of governments or commission manager forms of governments. So I don't know how you really prove that, but there are towns like Phoenix that usually kind of gets put at the top of the list. And so that's sort of where it came about. And I think that's what drew me to it as well, because I'm a believer in doing it right, doing it efficiently, right, and caring about what you do. I think that's important, and the form kind of lends itself to it. So it was easy for me to be attracted to it. So I started on April 28th, and I followed Kirk Bednar, right, and he followed Mike Walker. And so I've been told that I have big shoes to fill. Well, that just wasn't verbally. I got in my office, my first day, I'm looking around, trying to, figure out stuff, find stuff. I open my closet, and there's a size 20 Nike basketball shoe, high top. I would have brought it. I'm not sure I could get it in the door. It's literally this big. So the symbolism is definitely there. And I want to keep that going. So I think, and I know you know this as a community, you've been fortunate to have good city managers and you've had good elected officials, and that's what it takes. And I will tell you, I think that's becoming rarer and rarer across our country. Everybody likes to fight and instead of come together and figure out how to solve things. And I don't think that works very well. I think when we all entrench, we kind of get stubborn, except for me. I don't get stubborn. Ask my wife if you don't believe me, but we do. And so I'm a believer in coming together. So just a little bit about the city of Brentwood. We just approved our budget. Jay put a lot of work into that and needs some credit. I kind of came in at the right time. I didn't have to do much of really anything. And so that's probably better for me to learn in this year, and then I'll be ready for the next one. But about $121 million, 311 employees. And we do a lot of things that you would expect cities to do, typical police and fire, streets, planning, engineering, utilities, focus on capital projects. We have a library, very nice library. So we do a lot of the typical things. It kind of goes back to why government is here. Most of what we do, and particularly, I think we really focus on the core services. And most cities do, some don't always, but most of the services that a city provides are vital to a community, but they're not profitable. And that's why you have city governments, why you have nonprofits as well. That's why you have city governments, right? And so kind of holding on to that is really important because it's easy to sort of get distracted to get into other areas. And sometimes that works, but sometimes it gets you in trouble because it may not be our expertise. Someone else may be able to do it much better than us. So we always have to think about that and think about our mission and our role. And I think it's been thought about often, and the focus is where it needs to be. I've developed a huge appreciation for Brentwood. I was fortunate in the timing because I was not an applicant the first time they were going through the cycle to look for a city manager. Just what the timing wasn't there. Couldn't have even told you there was an opening at the time. But to my good fortune, maybe not theirs, I can't speak to that yet, but that didn't work out and they went through it again. And then that timing was right and I saw it and I almost didn't apply. It had nothing to do with Brentwood, except when I saw the cost of the area, I thought, oh my gosh. And I actually had shown an interest with the consultant that they had selected, that did a very good job. And I knew him from his days in Kansas. And so I had the ability to kind of really talk to him and learn about the community and the governance more. And but at one point I said, I think we're out. And then my wife and I had another conversation and she said, don't worry about that. Just put your name in. Let's see what happens and we'll figure it out. Right? Like, okay, you're good with it. I'm good with it. Let's do it. So we had about a day to go. So I did. So if you like me today or later in life, you can thank my wife. If you don't tell her I told you, but you can blame my wife. So I did, and I was very fortunate in the process. I appreciated the process. Everyone was as kind as could be, very inviting. Obviously, the community is a wonderful community. I tell people driving to work is like driving through the countryside. And you don't get that everywhere, and so it's easy to take for granted, but you don't get that everywhere. It's a beautiful area. It really is. And so I appreciate that. I just want you to know. I appreciate the large lot residential. This is a niche. And you guys know this. Brentwood is a niche in a larger metro. It doesn't have to have all the other things all the communities do. It serves its purpose. And that's the identity. And so I get that. And I understand that. I appreciate it. The Maryland Farms conversion in the story, I think is incredible to the corporate office kind of thing. That's pretty cool when you think about it. It wasn't that long ago, not really, when you think about life of a city. The quality of the parks and the public spaces and the emphasis on the quality of services, right? People give us your money. And I tell people, if we were a traditional nonprofit without taxing authority, our budget, it wouldn't be 121 million. I'm sure of that, right? So we have to understand the responsibility we have and with handling the money. And so some people will tell me, I remember years ago, someone said, boy, you have a lot of authority. You have a lot of power. I said, no, I don't. I have a lot of responsibility, because that's the perspective you need when you're handling other people's money and you're trying to do good things with it. It's responsibility. And that's how I always look at it. So when you think about my philosophy a lot, first of all, I work for an organization and expect my employees to have integrity. That's first and foremost, above everything else. Second of all, competency, right? I mean, it doesn't do us much good if we don't know what we're doing. So we have to be competent. We have to make an effort. That effort is usually what makes the difference, regardless of how smart you are or whatever it is. make the effort. Efficiency is really important in quality, right? And in Springfield, well, we started in Springfield, but really back when I was in Kansas, we focused on lean. In private sector, you know what lean means, right? It's continuous process improvement, looking at your processes. It's a big deal because when that was introduced to me, I hadn't had any exposure to it. And a gentleman brought me a couple books, said, I'll help you, I won't charge you. He taught people this. And I looked at it and I said, thinking about from step A to step whatever, and trying to do it the best you can makes sense when you're using someone else's resources. Makes sense. And so it's not the only thing, but there are other things you can do, but it makes sense. So I'm excited about Brentwood's future. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm really excited to be a part of it. So some things that we're going to be focusing on, we have a 2030 plan, and someday it's going to be 2030. So I'm quite sure of that. And so we will need to be thinking about updating that. That's a conversation that Mary Andrews and I have had, and so that will be something we'll be talking about probably in a few could be a few weeks, maybe a few months. I understand, as I mentioned, the residential character and why it's important to preserve that for everyone here. That's part of the quality, place, and identity of this community. So my job is to help do that. I get it, and that's what I'm going to do. Again, the corporate competitiveness is important because some of our buildings are getting a little older, and we're not going to be the core part, but whatever part we have, we need to be sure that those are attractive if we have a role, right? And we do sometimes have a role to make sure that they're filled with the best companies, the best jobs, and that's what's best for our community. So we have to be thinking about that. Retail activity. We're not a big retail hub. We got a couple little areas, and it works well, but it's as the commissioners will tell you, it's a big part of our revenue. So making sure that's healthy and viable for the long term is really important because it's by far the majority of our revenue. So we have to focus in on that. Capital projects. As many of you know, our staff, when I look at our numbers, I see other communities, organizations our size, and they have 400 or 500. So we really do try here to have a lean operation, to not waste your dollars, and a huge emphasis on capital and projects for your parks and your roads and so forth. And how many of you agree that we may have a few transportation challenges, especially peak time going to work or going home, right? Sure we do. Everybody does. Those are important. Your commission knows that, and everyone, that's a focus that they're working on. One of the more recent ones that Mary Andrews has been involved in, and we've been talking to folks, is cell coverage. If you're on the east side of town, there are places you might not be able to make that. And we're talking about that 911 call that was brought to our attention. So we're having conversations to see, have we been a party of making that more difficult? Are there things we can do? What does it mean? And how can we be a part of making that better? While that may not be our core service, that's a very important service, and we don't want to be in the way of it if it can be better. So those are some things that are coming up. There are a lot of things that'll probably kind of jump in front of us along the way. But I'll leave you with one more thing. As I talked about myself, I failed to mention that my wife and I, we really like culture. I'll give you a good example of this. So we last night, actually, we drove down and we went to the Nashville Symphony. How about that? At the, what is it? Schermerhorn, right? Schermerhorn? I think that's right. Beautiful. It's beautiful. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, he probably listened to him play a little Mozart, maybe. No, maybe some Beethoven. No. We watched the Goonies movie with the symphony playing the music. That's what we did. And so that's our level of culture. But anyway, as I mentioned, I'm ecstatic to be here. It's a great community. It's a great organization with some wonderful people who do strive to provide you the best services. And it's led by a wonderful city commission that really cares. I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but I do want to reiterate that. And so with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Jason, thank you for being here. There's a large expected transit system that's going into Davidson County, and some of that is going to be traffic light optimization, but it's also going to be some infrastructure. I'm not suggesting that the city of Brentwood will have a transit system, but I am curious as city manager, what kind of coordination and collaboration you're having and hearing from Davidson County, Metro Nashville on how the city of Brentwood will play into that transit
plan?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're right. Our needs for transit may not be the same as a lot of other communities, but we're still a part of the region and need to be an active part. So we called it, the mayor and I have gone up to what we call, and Commissioner Little's done this too, the alphabet meetings, I believe is what that's called, your Greater Nashville Regional Council. And then you have a Regional Transportation Authority. And under the Regional Council, there are all kinds. You have your Metropolitan Planning Organization for Transportation. You have all these things, right? And so we have a role in all those things. And so even if some of the things they're focusing on may not be our most important aspect for us, we have made a commitment to be a part of that, make sure we're there, we listen, we understand what's going on actively, not just once, every 3 or 4 months. That if our voice needs to be heard, it is heard as well. So that's really how we are getting engaged in that. So I've learned about choice lanes. It's an interesting concept. Not yet sure how that will work. That'll still be out in the future on our interstates. I think it's 24 where they're going to start on that, this idea. And if you don't know what that means is instead of just like a lane like today, if you have 2 or more people, that you can use that inside lane. They're supposed to have 2 lanes each way. And if you want to pay more, and with the technology, you don't have to stop in booths anymore. If you want to pay more, you can hop over to that lane and you can pay for that. And it's supposed to spread that congestion out. It's been tried in other places, but that's one thing that there may be some thoughts on along the way because, folks who drive back and forth use that. So we're paying attention to those things and trying to make sure that we know what's going on. And then from the other side of transportation, there are projects that are really important to us. Moore's Lane's a little tied up. We ideally, another interchange somewhere up and down 65, if we could find the right spot, it's not the worst idea. Location's a real challenge, but you have that Concord can be kind of tied up as well. And, roads like Wilson Pike need widened. So a lot of those are state highways. And we have federal roads as well. And so we want to be a part of trying to get dollars to those when we can get them. So that's really what our role is.
Jason, first, thanks for being here. Especially when you had to come and speak in front of your bosses, which was probably something you didn't expect.
Not every 2 weeks, yeah.
I'm just curious, you've been here 2 months, you did a lot of research to get the job. At this point, what's been your biggest surprise about Brentwood?
It's a good question. I will say my first meeting was pretty dramatic. That's all I'll say about it. But the conclusion of that and everything has turned out great, right? So, and I will say too, this is not a surprise at all, but I would say is I have just incredibly appreciated how so nice people are and approachable people are in Brentwood community. Just come up, introduce themselves, show their appreciation, welcome you. That's terrific. And again, you don't get that everywhere either.
Thank you, Jason, for being here. When you come from some other city, so you have a different perspective, right? You have the opportunity to see things from the outside, right? So the size of the city administration, do you have a perspective? Is it too big, too small? Because we live here, we're very happy with everybody we come across. Excellent service.
Yeah, good question. When I interviewed, I think there may have been, I don't know if I'll call it a concern, it might have been that because there's a lot of weight placed in the last place that you've been. And I was in Springfield, Missouri at about 170,000 people, right? So it's a pretty good sized town. And it deals with everything, really high poverty. They have business versus neighborhood issues, things like that. But prior to that, most of my time in city management, it was in Salina, Kansas, a town just about the same size as Brentwood. And I also spent some time in Stillwater, Oklahoma, about the same size. So I have about 15 years as a city manager and about 23 total working in towns that are about the same size. So that was one of the things that attracted me to Brentwood is the size. And what I will say about this town, and I think you guys know this too, it feels smaller. At least to me so far, it feels smaller, right? And when I talked about driving through the countryside, seeing a lot of the same people that are involved in things. Even in my short time here, I've seen a lot of that. And when I say smaller, I think what I really mean, and I mean that in a very positive way. A cohesiveness is what I'm talking about here. I really sense a strong cohesiveness, which is really important. And I sense a pride in that as well. So not surprising, but I would say different than a lot of communities that you go into. And I've been in some good communities. Salina was a very good community. I was there. I tell people I'm the only person you probably know that's been in the same community 3 times, 3 different times, 3 different capacities, and it wasn't my hometown. And it's just by chance as an intern and then assistant city manager and then city manager, I came back. I didn't expect to as city manager and I stayed for 13 years. So it's kind of interesting. And so I was drawn to some of the same characteristics there, even though it's not the same type of community Brentwood is. It wasn't a suburb, it's sort of a smaller standalone community. But I like that cohesiveness. I like that pride. I think not every community has pride. I will tell you that. And Springfield sometimes stepped on themselves. And when you step on yourself, you forget to take pride. You can focus on challenges, but you can forget to take pride in what you've done. And you need to take pride because it builds you up and it gives you that initiative that you need to go to the next step of whatever it is. And Springfield did have some problems with that. So the pride here, I think the cohesiveness is terrific.
Jason, thanks for coming, particularly so early in your tenure. It's a wonderful move, and we appreciate you being here. Knowing or understanding that you're kind of the administration or the execution based off the elected leaders, in the short time you've been here, what are you beginning to see as your top few priorities in terms of executing the city of Brentwood?
Okay. Well, I'm learning some things you might not want to step into. That's always important, right? Don't just go. For me, I always like to understand and learn about my community. I'm not one that goes in and says, well, everyone should be run the same way, apply all the same things, and all that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You have to know your community. And so I think first and foremost, that's where my emphasis has been. From a strategic perspective, I think looking forward, as we've talked about the 2030 plan, needing to think about what the future of that looks like is a huge importance. I think ensuring that we continue to try to have the financial viability to keep the character of our community the way that everyone here wants it to be is super important. And so that's a high priority as well. And it's worked. It's worked. There are a lot of communities it would not work. It works here. And it's pretty impressive. So that becomes a priority for me to be a part of that and make sure I can do that, not try to sway away and take us someplace that nobody really wants to be. So I would say those are probably 2 things that really jump out.
The one thing I've been reading the most about in the local kind of online papers recently has been growth, particularly Williamson County is just growing like crazy. They have a pretty large debt which is not necessarily bad. They've got a lot of revenue on top of that, but growth seems to be the kind of elephant in the room or the oncoming tsunami that's coming this way. Not just Brentwood, but the whole county. Mm-hmm. So how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I appreciate that. As from what I've learned about Brentwood in Williamson County, our boundary is pretty well defined. So we have some space still to develop residentially, but not a lot. Not a lot. So we probably won't be affected in that way the same as a Franklin may be affected. I think where we will be affected the most may be more congestion on the roadways. Coming across Concord to get to the interstate is a good example of that. So we have to be thinking about that and how that affects us here. Generally, from a growth perspective, my thought is this: if you have the space, it's pretty well defined in the cities working with Williamson County, kind of have an idea where those lines are. We work together to do that. And that, by the way, that collaboration of other cities in our county, with our county, is also something you don't always see. So I appreciate that. My thought is this: you can't usually hold out growth. Now, if you're Spring Hill, you're really in trouble. It's gonna really get you because you're pretty open-ended on your borders. We're not so much. But if you're going to have growth, right, make it what you want it to be, because the higher the growth demand, the more you can make it the way you want it to be. The lower the growth demand, when you really want growth, you'll do anything to get it. For example, when I was in Salina, we didn't have a real high growth rate. We're in the middle of Kansas and you're just not going to see it. You're pretty stable. There was a little town of about 3,000 people about 35 miles away. They were giving away property to try to get you to come live there and build a house. Well, that's all great and all, but if you didn't want to be there in the first place, it doesn't really matter, right? So on the other side of that is when you have a place people really want to be, you can make it nice, you can make it yours, you can make it what the community wants. So it's about managing what you're going to have. I do think it'll be easier for us to do that than it will be for some of the other communities because we're kind of getting hemmed in a little bit. Others aren't, and it's going to be a little harder for them to manage that and figure out what they want that to look like, what the quality level is, and the effect on their roads and so forth. But for us, make whatever we have in our borders, keep it the way we want it, right? And keep it the quality. Don't give on that. The 1 acre approach, at least in the total, when you look at the total subdivision, trying to make sure the average is an acre lot, or combined with the additional common space, make sure we don't get away from that. I think that's important. Keep the quality here. All right, thank you.
Okay, so we have a pen that we give to each of our guests who speak. So thank you for speaking with us today. It's a rotary pen. We also have a book. We have found ourselves out of them, but I know where you work.
Okay.
So I may come and have you sign it, and we read that book to the elementary school kids here in our community. So, and we get to share with them that you came and spoke with us and who you are. And so thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so once again, I want to welcome our guest, Kate, Linda, April, Lynn, going back and forth here, Gil, Randy, I saw you over there, Jay, Kim, I think she had to leave early, Nelson, as always, thank you, and Michael Spindler. Yes, thank you for visiting. We are so glad to have you here with us today. Next week's speaker. Have you guys read who next week's speaker is? Well, if you can read, it's right behind you. I didn't know that. Great job. Betsy's dad, he's coming, or he is going to be Zooming in with us. We are still meeting here in person, but if you were not with us back in 2020 when he spoke, he is a Pearl Harbor survivor. So if you would like to join us to hear him speak, we are thrilled to have him back. He's 103, so crazy. But he was there the day that Pearl Harbor was bombed. And so it is a treat for us to have him once again. So if you cannot make it, we will have Zoom options for you to do that as well. Larry, what do we do with the chairs? Do we stack the chairs? Okay. So if you guys wouldn't mind stacking the chairs 8 high and do not put them against the wall. All right. I think that's it. Anybody else have anything else? All right. For the good of Rotary, here we go.